So we welcome all the devotees for Sunday afternoon session on MANAH-SHIKSHA, in which we are seeing the life and teachings of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. In the Katha we have seen how the father of Raghunath Das Goswami tried to understand where Raghunath Das has gone away. And it was asked to Shivananda Sen that, do you have any information about Raghunath Das? Then he told, yes, Raghunath Das has met with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and because of his association and instruction, he has become very famous person. And who doesn't know anything about him? Everybody knows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has entrusted him with Swarup Damodar, and now he is called as Swarupera Raghu. And he has just become like the life of all the devotees. He chants the Mahamantra all day and all night, and he never gives up the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even for a moment. Nahi chhade Prabhura Charan Kshanamatra. He is in the supreme order of renounced order of life, the best of Vairagi. Indeed, he does not care about eating or dressing. Somehow or other he eats and maintains his life. After 10 dandas, that is 4 hours of the night, have passed away, Raghunath Das has seen the performance of Pushpanjali, that is the sleeping pastimes of Jagannath. Then he stands with Simhadwara to beg for something to eat. He eats if somebody gives him something to eat. Sometimes he fasts, and sometimes he just chews fried grains. After hearing this, the messenger returned to Govardhan Mujumdar, the father of Raghunath Das, and informed him everything about Raghunath. Hearing the description of Raghunath Das's behavior in the renounced order of life, his father and mother were very unhappy. Therefore, they decided to send Raghunath some men with goods for his comfort. Charishata mudra dui bhristya eka brahmana Shivanandera thai pathaila tat-kshana. Raghunath Das's father immediately sent 400 gold coins, 2 servants and 1 brahmana to Shivananda Sen. Shivananda Sen informed them, you cannot go to Jagannath Puri directly. When I go there, you may accompany me. Now go home, and when all of us will go, then I will take all of you with me. Describing this same incident, the great poet Sri Kavi Karnapur has written very extensively about the glorious activities of Raghunath Das in his Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. Acharyo Yadunandana Sumadhura Shri Vasudeva Priya Tat Shishyo Raghunath iti adhugunaha O pranadhiko madrisham Shri Chaitanya Kripatireka Satata Snigdha Swarupanugo Vairagyaika nidhirana tasya Vidito nilachale tishtatam. Raghunath Das is a disciple of Yadunandan Acharya, who is very gentle and is extremely dear to Vasudeva Datta, a resident of Kanchanapalli. Because of Raghunath Dasa's transcendental qualities, he is always more dear than life for all of us devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Since he has been favored by the abundant mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is always pleasing, vividly providing a superior example for the renounced order of life. This very dear follower of Swarup Damodar Goswami is the ocean of renunciation. Who among the residents of Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, does not know him very well? This is a verse from Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak of Sri Kavi Karnapur. Because he is very pleasing to all the devotees, Raghunath Das Goswami immediately became like the fertile earth of good fortune, in which it was suitable for the seed of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be sown. At the same time that the seed was sown, it grew into the matchless tree of the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and produced the fruit of Krishna Prema. Shivananda Yaiche se Manushe Kahila Karnapur se Rupe Shloka Varnila. In these sweet verses, the great poet Kavi Karnapur gives the same information that Shivananda Sen conveyed to the messenger from Raghunath Das's father. Then next year, when Shivananda Sen was going to Jagannath Puri, as usual, the servants, the Brahmana, who was a cook, also went with him. The servants and Brahmana brought 400 gold coins to Jagannath Puri, and there they met with Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das did not accept the money, and the men as a servant were sent by his father. Therefore the Brahmana and one of the servants stayed there with the money that it may be required later. At that time, Raghunath Das began inviting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house with great attention for 2 days every month, that is Dwadashi. After Ekadashi, which was a Nirjala fast, on Dwadashi they used to arrange a Dwadashi feast. The cost for the 2 occasions of Dwadashis was 640 kauris. Therefore, he would take that much from the servant and the Brahmana for the Priti Bhoj of Shriman Mahaprabhu and the devotees. Raghunath Das continued to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the Dwadashi feast in this way for consecutive 2 years. But at the end of the second year, he stopped inviting Mahaprabhu for this Priti Bhoj. When Raghunath Das neglected to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 2 consecutive months, the Lord, the son of Mother Shachi, questioned Swarup Damodar. Raghu kene amay nimantrana chhadi dila, Swarup kahe mane kichu vichar karila. Sri Chaitanya asked, why has Raghunath Das stopped inviting me for Priti Bhoj? Then Swarup Damodar said, he must have reconsidered something in his mind. Vishaira dravyalaya kari nimantran prasanna nahaya ihai jani prabhuraman. I invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by accepting goods from materialistic people, especially his father, who was much into business. I know that the Lord's mind is not satisfied by this activity. My consciousness is impure because I accept all these goods from people who are interested only in pounds, shillings and pence, mercantile businessmen. Therefore, by this kind of invitation, I get only some material reputation, pratishtha matrafal, that I am a big man and I invite sadhus and sadhus come and honor the prasad at my place. That means I am a great man. That's why Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that people who are under the bodily concept of life are called as materialistic people. Those who think that I am only body. At the request of Sri Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu accepts the invitations because he knows that foolish person like me would be unhappy if he did not accept them. Because those who are very conscious of pratishtha, if they invite some sadhu and the sadhu doesn't go, then that materialistic person will be disheartened. That why this sadhu is not respecting my invitation. So this is the way materialistic people think. Eta vichariya nimantrana chhadi dila, shoni Mahaprabhu hasi balitela dila. Considering all these points, Swarup Damodar concluded, he has stopped inviting you. Now how Swarup Damodar knows what is the thought process of Raghunath Das? That means Raghunath must have shared this to Swarup Damodar Goswami. Hearing all this report, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled gently and spoke as follows, which is very important instruction for the sincere sadhaka on the path of Krishna consciousness. Vishaira anna khaile malina hayama malina mana haile nahi Krishnera smaran. When one eats food offered by the materialistic man, one's mind becomes contaminated. And when the mind is contaminated, one is unable to think of Krishna properly. He may chant, he may do this and that, but the consciousness will not be very elevated. That's why it is suggested by Saraswati Thakur that people who are materialistically inclined and they have sahajiya vritti, they take the Lord and devotees for granted. They take everything casually actually, are both vishayis or materialistic. And eating food offered by them causes contamination in consciousness. And as a result of this contamination, even a serious devotee becomes like a materialistic person. That's why there are 6 kinds of association by which the sangha happens. Giving charity, accepting food, offering food, talking confidentially, and inquiring confidentially. These 6 exchanges are called as sangha. That's why a sadhu should be very careful to avoid associating with sahajiyas and materialistic people who are sometimes dressed as Vaishnavas, having kantimala, tulsi, and even dhoti gota. But then one should be very careful with such kind of Vaishnavas and non-devotees, that means those who don't follow Vaishnava Dharma, because this can completely change the consciousness from Krishna consciousness to sense gratification, and this is very dangerous. Vishayira annahaya rajasa nimantran data bhokta duhar malin hayaman. When one accepts an invitation from a person contaminated by the material mode of passion, the person who offers the food and the person who accepts it are both mentally contaminated. Not only the person who is offering his karma to somebody will be affected by, even the person who is offering that karma to somebody else will also get affected. So it is two-way dangerous. That's why people think that I will just give donation and my karma will be taken by someone. But this is not the case. Even the person who offers the wrong food item or food item which is coming from a wrong source of money will also get the reaction. That's why one should be very careful. Srila Saraswati Thakur also says there are 3 varieties of invitation: in mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. An invitation accepted from a pure devotee is in goodness, accepted from a person who is pious but he is very much materially attached is in passion, and the invitation from a person who is very sinful is in the mode of ignorance. Because of Raghunath Das's eagerness, I accepted his invitation for many days, that is 2 years. It is very good now that Raghunath Das, knowing all of this, has now automatically given up this kind of practice. Janiya apani chhadi dila. Bhala haila. It is very good that he has given up the wrong practice. After some days, Raghunath Das gave up standing near Simhadwar to beg for the food and instead began eating by begging alms from a booth for free distribution of food. Wherever the remaining prasad was distributed freely, without any payment, he used to go there and whatever is remaining, that he used to take. Govinda Pasha Shuni Prabhu Pochena Swarupere Raghu Bhiksha Lage Thada Kena Nahi Simhadware. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this news from his servant Govinda, he inquired from Swarup Damodar, why does Raghunath Das no longer is standing at the Simhadwar gate to beg for the food? Swarupa kahe, Raghunath Das felt very unhappy standing at the Simhadwar. Therefore, he is now going at midday in the very hot afternoon to beg alms from the charity booth of whatever Chhatra Mage Khai, whatever charity booth is offering the free food. Hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he has done very well by no longer standing at the Simhadwar gate. Such begging of alms resembles the behavior of a prostitute. Veshshara Achar. Bhiksha Vritti Simhadware Veshshara Achar. It is like a business of a prostitute. Here is a person coming near, like a customer is coming. He will give me something. This person gave me something last night. Now another person is coming close to me and he may also give me something. The person who has just passed did not give me anything, but another person will come very soon and he will give me something. Thus a person in the renounce order gives up his neutrality, that anybody gives is given by Krishna, and if somebody is not giving, that is also mercy of the Lord. So this neutral behavior is not practiced by such person, and it depends on the charity of this person or that person. Thinking in this way, he adopts the occupation of a Vaishya, prostitute. If one goes to the booth where free food is distributed and fills up his belly very nicely with whatever he obtains, there is no chance of further unwanted talk, and one can very peacefully chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, whatever one gets, which is left over by everybody, then that is a special Mahaprasad. And this kind of consciousness is very simplified. And that's why the Gramya Katha, because in many places while taking prasadam, lot of prajalpa can happen. But if you go when everybody has done, then what happens? There is nobody to talk with. And we can finish the prasad very quickly, and even we don't get all the items. Like today after Govardhan Parikrama, now we are back in Vrindavan, and obviously we go after the prasad is over, and we go and there was a feast, but by the mercy of Radharani, we just get khichdi. That's why we don't know what other items were there, and because we don't know what we have lost, so there is no pain of losing anything. You just take that simple wonderful khichdi and be happy, and there is nobody to talk with. So finish prasad early and come back. While going you chant, while coming you chant. So this is the simple life. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again bestowed his full mercy upon Raghunath Das by giving him a stone from Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Shila, and with it a garland of small conch shell, Gunjamala Tanre Dila. A Gunjamala means a garland of small conch. So this was a special gift offered by Mahaprabhu. Previously, when Shankarananda Saraswati had returned from Vrindavan, he had brought the stone from Govardhan hill and also the garland of conch shell. He presented Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with these two items, the garland of conch shell and the stone from Govardhan hill. Upon receiving these wonderful gifts, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely happy, remembering Sri Vrindavan Dham. While chanting, he would put around the neck the wonderful garland which was offered to him. The Lord would put the stone to his heart and sometimes to his eyes. Sometimes he would smell it and his nose and sometimes place it on his head. Netra jale se shila bhije nirantar shila re kahena prabhu Krishna kalevar. The stone from Govardhan was always moist with the tears from the eyes of Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya would say, this stone is directly the Vigraha, body of Lord Krishna. For 3 years he kept that stone and garland with him. Then, greatly satisfied by the behavior of Raghunath Das, the Lord delivered both of them as a gift to Raghunath Das. Prabhu kahe e shila Krishnera vigraha ihar seva karatumi kariya agraha. Mahaprabhu told Raghunath, this stone is the transcendental form of Lord Krishna. Worship this Govardhan Shila with great eagerness to achieve the Lord's lotus feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, worship this Shila in the mood of goodness like a perfect Brahmana. For by such worship, you will surely attain ecstatic love for Krishna without delay. Achirat pave tumi Krishna prema dhan. For such worship, one needs a jug of water and few flowers from Tulsi tree. That is Tulsi Jala Seva. This is worship in complete goodness when performed in complete purity of heart. Shuddha bhave kari seva. This seva should be done with a Shuddha bhav of the Hridaya, with great faith and love. You should offer 8 soft tulsi flowers, manjaris, each with 2 tulsi leaves, on each side of each flower. After thus advising him to worship the Shaligam Shila, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally offered Raghunath Das the Govardhan Shila with his transcendental hand. As advised by the Supreme Lord, Raghunath Das worshipped the Shila in great transcendental jubilation. Swarup Damodar gave these wonderful gifts to Raghunath Das with that 2 clothes, each about 6 inches long, and a wooden platform and a jug in which to keep the water. Thus Raghunath Das began worshipping the wonderful Govardhan Shila. And he worshipped very faithfully. He saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, directly in that Govardhan Shila. This is the mercy of Mahaprabhu, that Raghunath could see the Supreme Lord directly in the Govardhan Shila, because according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was direct Vigraha of Shri Krishna. Thinking of how he had received the Govardhan Shila directly from the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das was always overflooded with ecstatic love. The amount of transcendental bliss that Raghunath Das enjoyed simply by offering water and tulsi is impossible to achieve even if one worships the deity with great, wonderful and pure 16 kinds of paraphernalia, Shodash Upchar Puja. Because the heart of Raghunath Das was very pure and sublimely attached to the Supreme Lord and his devotees. After Raghunath Das had thus worshipped the Govardhan Shila for some time, Swarup Damodar one day spoke to him as follows: Ashtakaudir Khaja Sandesh Kar Samarpan Shraddha Kari Dile Se Amrite Rasam. Offer the Govardhan, that is the Govardhan Shila which he had, 8 kauris worth of first class sweetmeats known as Khaja, Jagannathir Khaja and Sandesh. If you offer them with great love and faith, they will just be like nectar. Raghunath Das then began offering the costly sweetmeats known as Khaja, which Govinda, following the order of Swarup Damodar, would supply. So all these items were supplied because he had no money. So it was all supplied by Govinda, the servant of Sri Chaitanya. When Raghunath Das received from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the stone and the garland of conch, he would understand the Lord's intention, and thus he thought as follows: Shila diya gosai samarpila govardhane gunjamala diya dila radhika charane. By offering me this wonderful Govardhan Shila, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has offered me a place near Sri Giriraj Govardhan, and by offering me the garland of conch shell, he has offered me the shelter at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Raghunath Das, in a transcendental bliss, was unlimitedly feeling that ecstasy, forgetting everything that was mundane and external, that is, the great mercy of Mahaprabhu. He served the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya with his body, mind and words. Who could list the unlimited qualities and the transcendental attributes of Sri Raghunath Das? His strict regulative principles were exactly like the lines on a stone, because Raghunath Das spent more than 22 hours of it out of every 24, that is only leaving 2 hours, for chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Shade Shata Prahara, 7.5 Praharas, that means almost 22 hours, he was chanting the Hare Krishna and remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. He ate and slept together for less than an hour and a half, and on some days that also was not possible for him. That is the great Krishna conscious tapasya of Raghunath Das. Topics concerning to his renunciation are just nectar and wonderful. Throughout his life he never allowed his tongue for any kind of rasera sparshan, sense gratification. Chidakani kanta vina na parivasana savadhane prabhur kaila agyar palan. He never touched anything to wear except a small torn cloth and a patchwork wrapper. Very small cloth he was using to cover his waist. Thus he was rigidly executed all the instructions given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu previously already has instructed him, Bhalana khaibe ar bhalana poribe. Don't eat very luxuriously and don't dress also very pompously. So he made his life very simple. Whatever he ate was only to keep his body and soul together. And when he ate, he would reproach himself saying this: Atmanam ched vijaniyat Parama jnana shaya Kim icchan kasya vaheto Deham pushnatilam pataha. If one's heart has been cleansed by perfect knowledge and one has understood Krishna, the Supreme Brahma, he then gains everything in this world. Why should such a person act like a debauchee or hypocrite by trying to maintain his material body very carefully? This verse in 7th canto of Bhagavatam was spoken by Narad Muni to Yudhishthir Maharaj regarding a householder's liberation from material bondage. On this spiritual platform, one does not unnecessarily care for his material body. Srila Narottam Das also says, Deha smriti nahi yar samsara bandhan kahanata. One who is spiritually situated does not think that this is his body. Therefore, he can transcendently execute severe penances in the renounced order of life. And the best example of such renunciation is Raghunath Das Goswami. Lord Jagannath's wonderful prasadam is sold by the shopkeepers, and that which is not sold decomposes after 2 or 3 days. All that decomposed food is thrown before the cows from Telangana at the Simhadwara gate. Because of its rotten odor, even the cows cannot eat it. It's completely spoiled. At night, Raghunath Das would collect all that decomposed rice, bring it home and wash it with lots of water. Ghare diya phele bahu pani pakha liya. He used to wash that rice which was spoiled. Then he used to eat the hard inner portion of the rice, applying little salt on it. One day, Swarupada Damodar saw these kind of activities of Raghunath Das. He smiled and asked for a small portion of that food and ate it, just to check what he is eating. Swarupa kahe, Aiche amrita khao niti niti, ama sabar nahi deha ki tomar prakriti. Swarup Damodar said, Oh Raghunath, you ate such high quality of nectar every day, but you never offer it to all of us. What is this kind of character of yours? When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard all this news from the mouth of Govinda, he went there next day and spoke to Raghunath. What nice things you are eating, Raghunath. Why don't you give it to me? And saying this, he forcibly took a morsel from Raghunath and began to eat. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking another morsel, Swarup Damodar immediately caught up his hand and said, Mahaprabhu, it is not good for you. Thus he forcibly took away that food. Sri Chaitanya said, Of course, every day I eat varieties of prasadam as Jagannath, but I have never tasted this nice prasadam as which is offered by Raghunath, and he is eating every day. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed such wonderful pastimes at Jagannath Puri. And seeing the severe penances performed by Raghunath in the renounced order, the Lord was very greatly satisfied. In his poem known as Gauranga Stava Kalpavriksha, Raghunath Das himself has described his personal deliverance. Mahasampadadavadapi patitam uddhritya kripaya swarupeyah sviye pujanam api mam yasya muditaha uro gunjaharam priyam api cha govardhana sheelam dadau me gaurango hridaya udayan mam modayati madayati. Although I am very fallen soul, the lowest of all men, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered me from the blazing forest fire of great material opulence by his great mercy. He handed me over in great pleasure to Swarup Damodar, his personal servant and associate. The Lord also gave me the garland of small conch, and he wore it on his own chest, and a stone from Govardhan hill. Although they were very dear to him, that same Sri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakens within my heart and makes me mad for his mercy. This is the verse personally written by Raghunath Das. Thus I have described the meeting, glorious pastime of Raghunath Das with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone who hears about this great incident also attains the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Eita kahilon Raghunather milan, iha ye shune paye Chaitanya charan. So this is the great falashruti of hearing the wonderful akhyana of the meeting pastime of Raghunath Das with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we have great fortune to read this and hear from Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is offering this great blessing. If we attentively hear this wonderful pastime, we will also very soon, Achirat, will attain the mercy at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yar Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Sanatana, always desiring their great mercy, I, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the nectarian character and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following in their footsteps. So this is the great meeting of Sri Chaitanya with Raghunath Das, the most exalted Acharya of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, who is the Prayojan Acharya, who was personally chanting 2 lakh holy names, that is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, every day. He was offering 2000 obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and 2000 obeisances to this Govardhan Shila, which was directly offered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if somebody is doing like this 24 hours, then we should understand that person has surely attained the love of Krishna Prem. As we have seen in Govardhan also, there are so many Babaji's devotees, especially from Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya and even other Sampradayas. They are doing 2 parikramas in this hot sun of 44 degrees every day, 2 times to Govardhan Hill, 24 kilometers one time, 48 kilometers every day, for many, many years. And throughout, they are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Their life is just ecstatic. And this is just impossible without the great mercy of the great lineage of Acharyas and Srimati Radharani and Krishna and Govardhan himself. So to see such wonderful devotees and be able to do that is really, really amazing mercy. So understanding the great character and caliber of the devotee of Raghunath Das, now in our next session we will be seeing his teachings through MANAH-SHIKSHA, his own composition, the great instructions from the Acharyas to re-stabilize our mind in Krishna consciousness at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya, that is Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna.